Paid extra for a London Eye view, and this is how the whole evening unfolded. We arrived at the London Marriott County Hall after a long travel day, and honestly, this is the part of travel people do not always show. You're excited, but you're also tired. You have luggage, passports, phones, confirmation numbers, and that slight confusion of being in a new city while trying to act like you know exactly what you're doing. But the moment we stepped inside, the mood shifted. The hotel has that historic London character. It is not trying to be ultra modern or overly trendy. It feels grounded. There's warm wood, classic detailing, high ceilings, arches, and that sense of a building that has lived another life before becoming a hotel.
You'll get the lounge access included in that.
Okay.
And I can show you the room first, and then I will.
It felt less like walking into a generic hotel lobby and more like entering an old civic building that had been softened for hospitality. Did you say 400 a night?
Yes. That's the only thing.
That's okay. We'll just stick with that room. Check-in was calm, but you can tell we were still in arrival mode. This is where the trip starts to become real. Stick with the original. I'm so sorry. We'll just go to the restaurant and have the view there. You know, we're just sleeping there. Trying to haggle an upgrade because during the check-in process, we were offered the option to upgrade our room for an additional fee. The room isn't ready yet, but they'll take care of the luggages. We can have lunch first at the restaurant while we're waiting. The upgrade was
We can
for a
just,
room with a
have
view of
light
the London
lunch.
Eye. Now, normally I try to be practical with upgrades. A room is a room. You sleep there, shower, change, and go back out. But this was our first night in London. We were staying right beside the Thames. The London Eye was part of the reason this location felt special. So we had to decide keep the original room or pay extra for the view.
Hi there.
And we chose the view.
Table for four, please.
Before heading fully into the room and unpacking, we had a quick lunch at Gillray's, which is inside the hotel. This was not a long, dramatic meal, it was more of a reset.
Yes.
We needed to sit down, eat something, and let our bodies catch up with the fact that we were actually in London. Gilray's fits the hotel well. It has that polished British feeling without being too stiff.
First lunch in Gillray's restaurant at the Marriott.
And yes, this was my first fish and chips in London. I know it is the predictable order, but sometimes predictable is exactly what you want.
Yes, thank you.
After a long day, there's something comforting about a classic plate. Something familiar but still tied to the place you are visiting. It was about having a simple first London meal while still inside this historic building, with the city waiting outside. Now let's talk about the hallway. This was not a simple elevator ride and 3 steps to the door. We walked, then turned, then walked some more, then turned again. At one point, it felt like we were walking around the entire hotel just to get to our room. Once we finally got to the room, the first thing I noticed was the layout. You enter through a small hallway area, which is useful because it gives the room a little separation from the door.
Our storeroom.
A good hotel room is not only about how it photographs, it's about how it functions when you actually live in it for a few days. Where do the coats go? Where do the shoes go? Where does the luggage open without blocking everything? Where do you put the little things that come out of every bag within the first 10 minutes? The room had that classic hotel structure. Entry, storage, bathroom, bed, desk, seating, and then the window. It was not overly flashy, but it was comfortable, polished, and calm.
Slippers. Mirror.
There's an espresso. Coffee station. In here. Oh. After settling in, we went out for our first night walk. This is one of my favorite parts of traveling, not the big planned attraction, not the itinerary, just stepping outside after dark and letting the city introduce itself. Because the hotel is right near the South Bank, we did not have to work hard to find the landmarks. The London Eye, the Thames, Westminster Bridge, Big Ben, they are all part of the immediate surroundings. That is the luxury of this location. You do not need a taxi to feel like you are in London. You walk outside and London is already there. The London Eye at night has a completely different mood from the daytime. During the day, it is impressive. At night, it becomes cinematic. The lights, the reflections on the river, the movement of people walking along the Thames, it all gives the city this layered feeling. Walking near Westminster Bridge, you get that classic London atmosphere all at once. The river, the buses, the lights, the crowds, the architecture. You look across the river, and suddenly the buildings you have seen in movies and postcards are not images anymore. They are in front of you. That's the strange beauty of travel. A place goes from being an idea to being physical. As the walk continued, we moved into one of those grand London night
Old
scenes.
America.
We are now at Trafalgar Square, shore, and the hop on hop off bus.
Trafalgar Square has that formal civic scale. It feels open, ceremonial, and architectural. At night, with the buildings
Trafalgar
lit and
Square.
people moving through the
At
square,
night.
it has a different kind of drama. I always look at cities almost like rooms. Some streets feel like corridors, some squares feel like living rooms, some landmarks feel like furniture pieces that anchor the whole composition. Trafalgar Square feels like one of those anchor spaces, a public room in the city. The National Gallery area continues that feeling of grand London. The streets, the squares, the buildings, the views, they create a sequence. And when you are walking at night, that sequence feels almost theatrical. One scene opens into another, one view leads to another. And because we were just following the evening, not rushing, it gave us time to actually notice the atmosphere.
For this Japanese restaurant. First dinner in London.
As we moved toward Mayfair, the mood became more refined. The buildings felt elegant. The lighting felt warmer. The streets had that upscale city energy where dinner feels like part of the whole evening, not just a meal. We went to Piranha in Mayfair. This was a very different mood from the hotel. The hotel was historic, warm, traditional, and connected to the Thames. Piranha was darker, moodier, more contemporary, and more nightlife driven. The interiors had that high end bar feeling, low lighting, warm tones, dramatic atmosphere, and a sense that the room was designed for the evening. It did not feel casual, it felt intentional. We ended with a more glamorous Mayfair version of London. That contrast made the night feel complete. After dinner, we walked back through the city. The first arrival excitement had settled. We had checked in, upgraded the room, eaten, walked, had dinner, and now we were just moving through London at night. The red buses, the phone booths, the lit buildings, the streets, everything felt more familiar than it had a few hours earlier. That's what I love about the first night. By the end of it, you still do not feel fully know the city, but you have started to build a relationship with it. You have a few reference points now. A hotel, a room, a view, a meal, a walk, a street you remember. Behind us is Trafalgar Square. Tomorrow we'll see it in broad daylight. Where's the red bus? It's everywhere. And there's Trafalgar Theater. And there's Sam and Chino. Seeing Big Ben at night was one of those moments that feels both familiar and surreal. You know the image already, you have seen it so many times, but when you are standing there with the lights, the traffic, the river, the sound of people around you, it becomes different. It becomes your own memory. That is the part I always look for when traveling. Not just seeing the landmark, but finding the moment when it stops being a postcard and becomes part of your own story. So that was our first night in London. A room upgrade, a London eye view, my first fish and chips, a long hotel hallway, a night walk through some of London's most iconic views, and dinner in Mayfair. If our first day was about arriving, this first night was about settling into the city. London was still new to us, but by the end of the night, it had already started to feel personal. We still have 3 more days in London, so don't forget to come back because there's so much more of London that I want to share with you. Until the next one, love and light to all. Bye.